So now let's have a look at some applications that computer vision has. And there are many, and every day more. First of all, if you just look at the sheer number of photos that are being taken, here you see an evolution over time. So in the past, 19th century, photography was still something rare, and people went to the photographer maybe a couple of times in their lifetime. But as time went on, and certainly over recent years, you really have this very steep growth of the number of images that are being taken. As a matter of fact, with our mobile phones today, we constantly carry around a camera, and that certainly has had a huge influence on taking images. People also have to take, or can take images without thinking much about it. In the past, you had like the 25 images you could take on your small roll of film. Nowadays, with digital photography and your mobile phone, you can take images almost without limit. So whatever you think is interesting, you can photograph. So very steep increase of the number of images we see here. So just taking images has become so much easier. Again, if you look at the distribution, you see that still evolution is going on very much in the direction of mobile phones. So here we have digital cameras, the brown, orange area. We have blue for tablet-based photography. And then we have mobile phones, which is the green area. You see, phone-based images are getting more and more dominant when you look at the overall number of images taken. And together with that, of course, is also a decrease in the cost of the memory to store them. Okay. So if you look at the past, there had been computer vision in industry, often called machine vision, actually. And what was typical for machine vision then was that it would do a very particular job in an environment that could be neatly controlled, meaning there was very little that was left as a surprise. You would know how to set up the illumination, you would know which object would appear, when they would appear, and so on and so forth. So very controllable environments like production units in the factory. And computer vision systems then, machine vision systems, would do things like inspecting the quality of the product. Now, if you look at more recent times, computer vision is actually going into areas where you do no longer have that kind of control, where you can't control the environment, or where the variation to be expected is much, much larger. An early version of that was medical image processing, which has split off as a field in its own right a few decades ago. But nowadays, also in regular computer vision, you see more and more of these in the wild applications, as people would call them. Consumer-oriented applications often. Maybe you have a few on your own mobile phone. Now, probably you do. Like detecting faces in any picture, recognizing photographs of the same people. This kind of applications where you don't know exactly what to expect. You don't know how many people there will be in the image, what the background is like, which pose they have, and nonetheless the system is still supposed to work. Now, recent developments in deep learning have even accelerated that process of going into the wild, of enclosing more and more areas as possible areas of application of computer vision. Think of things like cashierless shops, where you just go in, grab a product, walk out, and you will have automatic payment, or self-driving cars. These are all environments that you cannot fully control, where there's a lot of variation and still the system has to work, and computer vision in all these cases plays a central role. Now, coming back to mobile phones, if you look at the result of your photography on a mobile phone, often there is a lot of processing going on, even if you may not believe that. So the quality of your own pictures may not be that good, but then internally the mobile phone will try to enhance your images. Here's an example where the top is an original image taken with a mobile phone, and the bottom is kind of images with the kind of image in which it is being turned. Also, quite surprising things can be done with modern computer vision. So when fed images of faces, so the system can learn how faces look like, you can then let the system also generate faces on its own. And these 8 faces that you see here are actually all computer-generated faces. So the system has learned what is typical about a face, and it can generate more patterns that have those typical aspects and that indeed do look to humans as faces. Of course, great things are possible here in graphics, movies, and so on. I mentioned autonomous cars already. So here actually at ETH we have a collaboration with Toyota in that respect. So top left you have one of these sensor-equipped cars, and the car will analyze the world around it, will understand where things are relative to the car, so it will be analyzing the world in 3D, measuring distances, also noticing what different parts of the scene are about, like roads, lane markings, vegetation, people, other cars. So that's what is called semantic segmentation. The next video, here we show an example of car detection. So here the system looks at where are the other cars, and it finds these other cars indeed at very high speed in real time. So it really knows something about that environment. It can interpret that environment. And the precision with which this can be done is getting at the level of human perception. Or sometimes it's even already a little bit beyond that. Another example for autonomous driving, from left to right, you have the situation around the car with different images being put together. Then in the middle, there is this semantic segmentation. So purple would be road surface, red would be lane marking, green is vegetation, yellow is a pole, and then brown would be other cars, and so on. And then on the right-hand side, you have the system actually making sense of all that. And green would be places where the car can go next. So that's a place where the car is allowed to move to. And the red regions are the regions where the car has to stay away from, like other cars or off-road parts of the scene. And again, all that interpretation has to be done in real time to make decisions in a timely fashion. You see indeed these different steps being done as images come in right there on the spot at a very high speed. Now, in case of an unexpected occlusion, like a child running onto the road, indeed the reaction time that the car has to come to a full stop is very, very short. So it's absolutely crucial that the delay between the start and the end of computations is very, very short. Here a bit related experiments for a wheelchair. So some patients, some users of wheelchairs have difficulty steering themselves. They no longer have the necessary motor control. In that case, it's good that the wheelchair can detect where it can go to avoid other people. that it can analyze its position with respect to the surrounding environment, that it also sees where the other people surrounding the wheelchair are, how they are moving, what the direction of movement is, and so on. So this is a top view on the right, and the green areas would be the ones where the wheelchair is allowed to go. Another type of application is finding images from a big data set, finding similar images. And in the past that would have meant finding more or less a copy of the same image, but with deep learning and the more sophisticated levels of analysis that are becoming available today, you can look for images that are the same kind of scene, that show the same kind of action, so images similar on a rather abstract level. Another application of the same is, given an image, describe its content. And here we see different images for which a computer has come up with a caption, so a description of what the computer believes is to be seen in the images. On the left-hand side are success cases. So if you start from the top on the left, that image on the top left there is being commented on by the computer as a person riding a motorcycle on a dirt road, which is a quite adequate description of what you can indeed see is going on. The middle image on the left, a group of young people playing a game of frisbee. That's also really spot on. Bottom left, a herd of elephants walking across a dry grass field. Big success. Now, it's not always that successful yet, but it's impressive that things like that can be done increasingly well. Here, social cases. For instance, the top image, 2 dogs play in the grass. Well, it's kind of okay, except for the fact there are 3 dogs really. So one dog's dog is gone missing. Okay, so these cases here between are kind of okay, but there are mistakes being made. And sometimes things go very wrong. And these are examples shown on the right hand side, where on the top you have a dog is jumping to catch a frisbee. Well, it's not really jumping, is it? Or the middle one, painful. A refrigerator filled with lots of food and drinks. Now, I'm not sure where the refrigerator is, but I wouldn't like to taste from those foods and drinks. And then bottom right, a yellow school bus parked in a parking lot. Must be a fun school. So, just to say, not all these things work perfectly yet, of course, and still a lot of progress needs to be made in order to really be at par with the complete semantic understanding of scenes. But it is amazing how far the progress is that has been made already in the last years and what can already be done. Another area that is benefiting a lot from these different steps forward is visual surveillance. Like on the left, somebody is there crossing into an area by climbing that fence. Now, in the past, old surveillance systems would just report on motion in unwanted areas. So if in that neighboring lot where that guy is entering, trespassing, in the past there would have been a cat that would move also, and that would then raise an alarm. And false alarms were always a big problem in surveillance. But nowadays you can say, no, it's not a cat. A cat would not raise an alarm because a cat is being recognized as being a cat. This is a person, that's serious, that has to be reported. The same with analyzing traffic scenes, analyzing the cars in the scene, whether the speed is okay, and so on and so forth. So anyway, increasing the level of semantic understanding, the real understanding of the scene, helps also to make more sense of images in surveillance and to avoid raising all those false alarms that people had in the past. Yet another application is analyzing sporting matches, like in this case, looking where the players are, who is where, to which distance, in which area, and trying to do that automatically. In fact, that was based on technology starting off here at ETH with Marcus Gross's group of computer graphics. They had this company called Libero Vision that was sold off to Visit, who are now the owners of this technology. So great for commenting on matches also. You can start to show the match also from the perspective of the players and have all these modifications being made. This is another spin-off company of ETH, of our own group, called UniqueFeed. And what UniqueFeed does is to replace the adverts that are around the playing field. Like you have different areas here, like those two, and then these virtual ads are being put there. And that happens all around actually. So you can adapt ads to the region where you broadcast this particular match to. Now the complication and where the computer vision comes in is players will, of course, run over those areas in front of the adverts, and they have to include these adverts in a realistic manner. Okay. Another application is motion analysis. Copying the motion of an actor, like you see in the top left. So an actor is playing out a certain action. The cameras surrounding the actor pick up the 3D motion that he's exhibiting. Or for a face, top right, you can do the same for the face. And then you can transplant that motion onto a virtual actor. Like in the Avatar movie. So the expressions of the face are being put onto the avatar character, mimicking the expressions of the actor, or in this case, the body pose of the actor being copied by the golem figure in Lord of the Rings. And this is a Polar Express movie, where again, an actor is playing out and then that is copied onto this virtual character. Again, an application of computer vision in the computer graphics area. Also, lots of medical applications, I mentioned that before, and of course there's an increasing number of different scanners available that let doctors see inside the body. These data can be integrated, and then with applications like augmented reality, doctors during the operation can actually see things that are invisible to the naked eye, and therefore work with far higher precision and more reliably. So again, scanners, automatic segmentation of organs in the scan, then showing them in augmented reality, so that means knowing exactly where the head of the surgeon is, all computer vision applications, but now in the area of surgery. This is an example of mobile mapping, so building maps automatically from images. So a number of cameras are mounted on the top of a van. These cameras look around and measure in 3D the different points of the environment. So in the background you already see this point cloud, this three-dimensional point cloud that comes out of those measurements. The camera views are showed in the middle. So in this case there are 8 downward-looking cameras in total. Actually, they form 4 stereo pairs. And here you see how these stereo pairs are mounted on the top of the van. So the van with its cameras is going around, driving around in the streets, and automatically, very efficiently, the 3D points are being extracted and mapped. And here you see the street map that comes out automatically, and it's with very high precision, and you can do also lots of interesting measurements based on those data. So this is only part of that scene. In fact, the entire town here was measured with this technique. And so also map making is benefiting greatly from computer vision, also in the area of autonomous cars, which will then use those maps to drive around. and have the maps as a reference. So, concluding from this, it is feasible now to let most things see and interpret their environments. So you can put cameras, they have become very small, on almost everything. You even have several cameras now probably in your mobile phone, and look how small that device is. So letting see things has become a lot more possible just during the last 1-2 decades. The quality of perception is going on vastly, and many things can be done at the level of precision at which humans would analyze the scene visually.